In a shocking and acrimonious rupture reverberating through the very core of Hollywood's entertainment industrial complex, Netflix has summarily fired Prince Harry and wife Meghan Markle after damning evidence emerged exposing their widely touted Netflix docuseries project as a brazen, multi-million-dollar scam completely devoid of any deliverable content. The brutal severing leaves the increasingly disgraced royal couple's reputation utterly in tatters, while a reported $100 million investment effectively disappears into a hazy miasma of mystery and deceit. The bombshell termination follows a tense 6-month investigation launched by the streaming giant after growing internal doubts over the Duke and Duchess of Sussex's lack of tangible productivity despite soaring budgets and salaries accompanied by an endless deluge of grandiose announcements and PR fanfare. The probe, which involved nearly 500 staff members spanning multiple departments, uncovered mounting evidence suggesting Harry and Meghan had quietly reassigned and diverted the entirety of committed production funds away from any actual programming development. What our comprehensive forensic accounting records inquiries ultimately disinterred were flagrant, multifarious layers of rerouting expenditures, shady offshore accounting, outright wage skimming operations, and surreptitious plundering of fiscal reserves Harry and Meghan had centralized as a kind of privateer's treasure trove, summarized a Netflix executive involved in the investigation. Their entire grandiose multimedia, Archie enterprise serving as an incubation launchpad for fresh perspectives and counter-narratives appears simply to have been an intricate Ponzi hustle crafted to circumvent oversight while bleeding us dry from the inside. The first major red flags began emerging in late 2020 shortly after the couple inked their lucrative Netflix deal reported to be worth as much as $150 million in potential returns. Studio leadership noted ongoing aggressive spending and recruitment tactics simultaneously accompanied by distinct lethargy when it came to actually producing deliverable programming or video content of any kind. Multiple whistleblowers came forward expressing confusion over lavish outlays yet minimal on-screen results. They came on very strong, initially pitching us dozens of fantasy concept projects spanning various genres, from political docudramas to children's programming to travel adventure series. One former Netflix executive producer who resigned during the ordeal described. But any time we tried nailing down a firm timeline or production pathway, there were always vague deflections about needing more prep resources or fleshing out transcendent thematic narratives. Yet the spending kept accelerating towards a theoretical black hole with zero creative fruition. Part of the probe's difficulties stemmed from Harry and Meghan's immediate diversifying of Netflix disbursements into a dizzying labyrinth of shell companies, offshore accounts, external consultancies offering usurious fee retainers, and ancillary side projects seemingly detached yet profiting enormously from residual flows of the streamer's expenditures. For example, the couple invested millions into founding an independent, Montecito-based production house called Reclusive Pictures, with staff salaries and company overhead all reimbursed as supposedly relevant development costs against their Netflix slate. More suspiciously, the leak investigation uncovered over $27 million channeled through a Gibraltar-based media advisory limited liability corporation called Shipler Holdings, purportedly providing consultations on emerging narrative-shaping strategies promoting inclusive storytelling. Yet the shadowy agency's sole principals appeared to be an ex-investment banker and part-time bikini model residing in the Cayman Islands, with no verifiable prior expertise or institutional content footprint whatsoever. When we requested documentation from Shipler accounting for what specific work was performed or content assets created earning their enormous advisory fees, the responses we received ranged from indecipherable corporate jargon about dynamic transcendent paradigms, to outright hostility about how we obviously just weren't transcendent enough to understand their visionary process. One exasperated compliance official involved in the probe summarized. We literally had a streamer's senior counsel engage in a 6-hour, perspective narrative framing principles presentation conducted via Zoom from a mostly nude adult camgirls web channel under the premise this constituted legitimate business consultation. Yet despite the couple's steadfast obfuscation and deployment of financial smokescreens, enough compelling forensic trails ultimately emerged suggesting the entirety of Netflix's investment had simply been converted into a lavish personal slush fund underwriting the globetrotting couple's lofty jet-setting whims with zero legitimate productivity. Investigators uncovered $6.4 million in research safari expenses masquerading upscale adventure vacations like yachting voyages around Corsica and Mauritius as on-site documentary anthropology. There were also over $17 million in reimbursements categorized towards transcendent storytelling praxis, seminars hosted at posh resort retreats featuring no discernible craft development agendas but plenty of private butler services, beachside massages, and Michelin-starred catering. Even more galling, the sprawling 16-bedroom Montecito mansion purchased by Harry and Meghan shortly after the Netflix deal had its $14.7 million acquisition reimbursed through a shadowy subsidiary flagged as Metaphysical Outreach and Gathering Sanctum Corporation. As documented evidence mounted of the Duke and Duchess's grand-scale fiscal hoodwinking spanning nearly 2 years, a grim-faced Ted Sarandos called an emergency executive summit to discuss legal options and attempt containing the rapidly metastasizing scandal engulfing Netflix. By all accounts, the Netflix CEO was nothing short of apoplectic as the truly scandalous depths became apparent. This was a heist of truly iconic, historic proportions striking at the very heart of Hollywood's soul like a saber through butter. Sarandos allegedly exploded during the meeting according to witnesses present. It's criminally genius in its audacity. To siphon that magnitude of streamer investments into an industrial-scale high-society grifting operation, it's like their very own television version of the Lufthansa heist scam from Goodfellas or something. After ranting extensively about potential RICO implications and comparisons to Hollywood's grandest studio embezzlement schemes, the Netflix founder apparently resigned himself to the futility of ever recouping assets or on-screen product from the hollowed-out husk of the company's Harry/Meghan multimedia initiatives. Sources present at the climactic summit revealed Sarandos's resigned decision to simply eat the estimated $100+ million loss while excommunicating the couple from all Netflix partnerships, productions, and intellectual property entanglements, effective immediately. If we sue over this breach of ethics, it'll just evolve into an endless circus of countersuits, grandstanding, and litigious static where even our lawyers ultimately profit more than getting assets recovered, the disgruntled CEO supposedly rationalized while pounding his fists on the summit room's cherry oakwood table. No, the only way forward involves cauterizing this situation's toxicity before it metastasizes into a perpetual indictment on Netflix's corporate equities. Issue a press release immediately terminating all Meghan and Harry associations, then shred every trace of these bourgeoisie royal parasites from our systems and let them retreat back into their mansion to frantically seek their next pop culture host to leech off. Sure enough, the streamer soon distributed a terse corporate statement officially severing ties with the Duke and Duchess of Sussex for falling, short-sightedly antithetical to our institutional artistic growth trajectories. Beyond that stilted blurb, Netflix has subsequently remained mum on details surrounding the imbroglio or ultimate financial fallout figures, doubtless hoping a news cycle of shifting controversies buries the saga before it balloons into greater scrutiny over the company's vetting and oversight vigilance. Meanwhile, the defiant newlywed couple remains equally tight-lipped while already test-firing conspicuous volleys of obfuscation and media distraction, likely presaging an epic public relations blitz seeking rehabilitating their images as affronted, blemishless victims rather than perpetrators. Last week's abrupt discarding of their supposedly prized English PR advisors, the blue-blooded Edelman and Eddington consultancy, may have represented preemptive jettisoning of elements deemed too sympathetic to the crown in advance of whatever incendiary narrative counteroffensive Harry and Meghan now seem preparing. We at Edelman and Eddington felt profoundly discomfited persisting as attached.